Tuttle here for Ferguson Roof Systems. For 43 years, Ferguson Roof Systems has been protecting Oklahoma's homes and businesses with quality roofing services. Their goal was to be the most honest and dependable roofing company in the state, all while providing free services such as lifetime labor warranty and annual inspections. Well, mission accomplished with thousands of client testimonials, an A+ Better Business Bureau rating, and a 5-star rating on Google. Look, the weather gives you enough to worry about, so why worry about who to trust with your roof? Call Ferguson Roof Systems today or find out more at fergusonroofsystems.com.
Hey everyone, back with you. Meteorologist Tuttle here from AT's Weather Center, here to talk about the couple of winter storms coming our way. Will they pack a punch? Will they mean anything? Will you get measurable snow in your backyard? We're going to find out all that and more about travel problems, you name it. We're going to discuss it. So thanks for joining me. Make sure you like and share this video. Some of you have gotten a notification through the old way where you opted in through your Facebook Messenger that I use for my little third-party system. But there's been a new way to do it that Facebook has brought on board. And many of you have already signed up for that. About 4,000 plus have already signed up for that one. Here is a link. I'm going to put it in the chat window. So make sure, I think you have to do this on your phone. I don't think you can do it on your computer. You can try it. But on your phone, tap this. You will have to have Facebook Messenger installed on your phone. So if it's one of those deals where you don't want that on your phone, it ain't going to work for you. If you do have it, what happens is when I go live, I just tap a quick little broadcast note that says, hey, I'm going live. Excuse me, because Facebook doesn't always tell you when I do. That way I can tell you when I do. So click this link right now in the comment section or come back and do it after the broadcast is over. And that way you'll be able to sign on in. So that's another way of doing it. That way you can get some action from me. Don't miss a thing because, hey, we got some fun stuff finally to talk about. Trust me, it's been lame, and I do mean lame. I'm in a weather guy, and it is lame. Shane, by the way, thank you for some stars tonight. Appreciate you. You guys sent me some stars at lunchtime today. I'm very grateful for those. Ron's in the house with some stars. Thank you very much, sir. I know we got a lot of you guys are tuning in saying, okay, what about my backyard? Am I going to get snow? What about my kids? So we're going to get all your questions answered. Okay, first things first. Let's see. Right now, temperature's kind of cold, but hey, it's normal. Close to freezing. Robert, thank you for the stars, my friend. Clear skies out there. We have literally no wind. I mean, as in zero. I got a north wind at 0. So you can't get less of a wind than that. So let's talk about the action. Let's roll this in here. We're going to start you first off with the temperatures across the state. So we are into the 30s primarily. We do see little circles of yellow. Within that, they're dropping into the upper 20s for a little bit. So, but hey, this time of year, we can expect that. I kind of like it. It's a nice change, right? Because we'll be back in the hundreds in no time. I hate to be the bubbly, burst your bubble. But here's a look at Jay. I see your comment. Come on, man. I got to represent. Hey, we did pretty good in our bowl game considering we didn't have any quarterbacks left. But anyway, good job to Oklahoma State. But we do have winter weather advisories in purple across western Kansas, northwest Oklahoma, and the Texas Panhandle already in effect. If you're going to be traveling out there across New Mexico, that is in the pink shading. That's where things are a little heavier, a little dicier for the action. Now, because we're looking at the upper level low in the water vapor channel, this little spinning motion right here in the cloud cover, this is our storm system. It is dipping down like this. It's going to come right across Oklahoma. And of course, it's the exact track of the center of these upper lows as to who gets the snow and who just gets some rain. So let's take a look at it in the jet stream pattern. This is a model data of the atmosphere. And we're going to track the position of this. Put this thing on mute here so it doesn't blow up. All right, so let's go here with time. So watch that little spinning motion out to the west. See how it kind of spirals around and comes in toward the Panhandle region by the time we head into Thursday evening, around midnight, centered pretty much around the Amarillo area by that point in time. And then by Friday morning, it starts to eject here into northwest Oklahoma. As we head into the mid-morning hours and afternoon, it does something it did not do in all of our prior model data, which is why it's always dangerous to get too excited over the exact track of an upper low because they can always shift on you. So this time around, it did like this, and then it went boop, just like that. That's not good for us. We don't want that if you want snow. So in other words, this track has gone from more of this to more of this. Now, I mean, that's Kansas. That's great for you guys. But for Oklahoma, that, tries to eliminate what we get for some snow. All right, so that's what's going to happen with this first system. That's to track the latest data from. Now, could it shift south a little bit more in the new data? Sure, but we're getting pretty close. I mean, it's Wednesday night, so tomorrow, if it doesn't change back, it is what it is. But we can take a look at what the lift in the atmosphere is going to be. We looked at the mid-level lift there. This is kind of a little bit lower level, where you see all the bright colors on the screen. That's where you're going to put all the heavier precipitation. In this case, it'll be rain at first for Thursday evening and Thursday night. Now, there'll be snow out here across New Mexico and the western Texas Panhandle because it will be cold enough for that already. But the red stuff is where the heavy precipitation falls. Look at that big stuff coming in right along the I-35 corridor. Again, this is the body of Oklahoma. If you're new here, it looks like this. And we're right smack dab in the middle. If you live here in Oklahoma City, Tulsa, you're right here, and et cetera, et cetera. All right, so just learn your town, learn your geography, learn your, where your counties look like and all that kind of stuff. That way, when you look at weather maps around here, you get a better idea of where you're at. Not all of them will have town names on them, but some of mine will. We'll get to that here in a second. All right, so let's go to Friday morning. Okay, so Friday morning, the major lift starts to move out into Arkansas and northeastern Texas. That means things are wrapping up here. Now, as the upper low kicks through, you're going to have this little residual burst of snow with it in the red that comes in for the morning hours on Friday. A little bit of light stuff here that moves through, and then up here into Kansas. Let's see what happens after that. There's a little batch here for midday Friday, and then a no heavier batch right up here for late Friday afternoon. So a couple little areas with a little bit of burst of precipitation activity, but the big kicker is it going to be cold enough by this point in time, again, for all this to be snow? Now, this is where the models have changed a little bit, because here's the problem. When that upper level low moves a little bit more to the north, it moderates the surface temperatures even more. That's not good news if you want snow. So let's take a look at the temperatures here in the model day as we head into our period for Thursday night, midnight. So again, there's that midnight hour when the precipitation starting out here in the west. Now you can see why out there things ought to be pretty much snow, whereas we're 41 degrees in Oklahoma City, 37 in Tulsa. Okay, so let's go on to the morning hour, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. So you can see temperatures out here are at least into the mid-30s for Friday morning. And the blue is temperatures right around freezing or less. So in other words, the 20s to around 32 degrees. So that means most of Kansas is below freezing still. But not the case now for this area of the state into this region. This is a no-go zone for snow when you have temperatures above 37 degrees. Where they're about 36 or colder, you can get some snow mixed in. Of course, it melts quickly, but you can have it happen as long as temperatures aloft are cold enough to where it doesn't melt too soon before it starts to fall through the column. Otherwise, 30s out here in eastern Oklahoma. So this is about Friday mornings. Now let's go into the midday Friday. What happens for lunchtime? Well, temperatures moderate quite a bit. So now we're back into the mid to upper 30s, pretty much all over Oklahoma. This is not what I wanted to see. This is a poo-poo for me. As we go into the afternoon, we're back into the upper 30s. Again, this is too warm for snow, which means a cold rain. And to me, this really stinks because I was really hoping for a little bit more if you get snow. At lunchtime today, these temperatures are several degrees colder. That change in the track in this one particular model, again, is a doomsdayer for that outcome. Now, will the model be absolutely correct? May not be. But it's nervous to see that trend at this hour whenever we only have so much time left before the event starts. So you gotta look at it, you gotta listen to it, and you gotta go with it. Okay, so that's how the temperatures will result. The reason why there's a little better chance of seeing some snow mixed Friday morning out across maybe eastern Oklahoma. Remember, temperatures were starting off a little colder, like 35, 34, 36 degrees in some areas. Well, the dew point values out here are, in the earlier data, into the, I think they were upper 20s, near 30. Here, they're right around 30 to 33. So what happens is you get the air temperature, say the dew point's to floor. Air temperature can vary. So your air temperature, as it rains, will cool down to the floor of your dew point. They'll meet. So typically, your dew point will come up a couple degrees, your temperature will fall a couple degrees, and they'll meet in the middle. So with this, for example, Tulsa, in theory, could warm up 2 degrees in the dew point and cool 2 degrees in the temperature. So from 30, saying at 34, as the temperature it starts at, and with a dew point of 30, where does it meet? 30 plus 34 divided by 2 is 32. So in other words, you have a better opportunity for seeing from snow in Friday morning in this area. Now, with temperatures that warm, it will still likely melt pretty quick, and it also limits amounts. Okay, so let's look at how this ought to transpire. So here's the model output of the precipitation. So you can see all the blue stuff, which is snow across the Panhandle region for Thursday evening by midnight, approaching across the border here from Texas all the way into western and southwestern Kansas as well. Rain elsewhere for the body of the state. And that moves on, tries to get some snow mixed in, the little colder air as I mentioned for Friday morning, and even parts of the Ozarks and into western Arkansas. Otherwise, rain south from there. Still a little bit of snow in Kansas. There's a close-up view of that. Look at two different model runs. The herd didn't quite take the far northern track with this as the NAM did, so it's going to be more robust on keeping some more snow in, like for the Tulsa area, Stillwater, Ponca City, maybe down around I-40, Muskogee, even maybe down toward McAllister at 5 o'clock in the morning on Friday. So that is a pretty good trend there of seeing some snow. And you can see along the Kansas border as well, into southern Kansas for sure. And then that wraps up here for Friday afternoon. There's 1 o'clock, a few sprinkles around by 6, and that's about it. If we look at the NAM model, which takes that more northern track, we'll see what it does. So there's let's back this up a little bit. Here we go. So there's the 6 p.m. Thursday. Again, the rain moving in Thursday evening if you have any plans, and overnight into Friday morning. And you see the blue on the map, mainly across Kansas, far northern Oklahoma. There's not that big batch of blue across eastern Oklahoma like the prior model did. So there's a difference now already in our short-term high-resolution data models. They're already at a fight with one another. Whereas one pretty much says, forget about it. The other one says, hang on for hope out there in far eastern Oklahoma. And it all moves off to the east. If I were to look at the snowfall totals between those two, we'll do that here. So for example, here is that NAM model with the snowfall total amounts. Is dusting in Tulsa, again, nothing here in the body of Oklahoma because of that warm nose of air. Panhandle, sure, no problem. These are on 3 to 5 inches, in all these little areas, especially in the darker blue. If we do go to the HUR, you can see that Keep Hope Alive out here across eastern Oklahoma, whereas anywhere from a dusting to almost 2 inches of snow there in Tulsa. Now, this is how the data looked earlier today, all right? So if we can discard the NAMs, shift to the north, then this is what the output kind of looked like earlier today, although it had a lot more snow in this area. So even this model has a trend of drying things out for as far as the snowfall is concerned. If you look at the National Weather Service impact as far as its winter storm severity index, in other words, are you going to have any major impacts? And right now, they just say minor impacts across here. In other words, not really much to write home about with this system. There's some spots of maybe some treacherous terrain out across New Mexico. And again, it's all just for snow. As far as the ensemble models go, for Oklahoma City, for example, this one has basically a trace of precipitation across all this spectrum of about 50 different runs. So that's not a good sign. That's not what you want to see. And then here's the other one from the SREF, which I like to use for snowfall totals. Now, believe it or not, it's an outlier. It's been a little goofy at times. Its members are up around 2 inches of, almost 2 inches of snow. That's an outlier. So that's a very bullish, I love snow model. I'm a little leery to believe it, but I usually like it. But it has to jive with everything else for me to take it for what it is. So now that we know this Friday system is a little lackluster, for a better word, unless you live in Kansas or, again, other parts of our surrounding area. So that's that one. Let's move on to the next one. It's always on to the next. Here's a little trick for you, by the way. I'm going to give you a little sneak peek in TV land, all right? So in TV news, whenever we're doing the weather, and we hype up a system. Now I say we because I never hyped it and I don't hype it. But if, again, you're watching and they're hyping up a system and it's Katie bar the doors, we're all doomed, yada, 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 this is what happens. That system is a dud. But guess what? They go as though they've never mentioned anything about it. Why? Because we're already on to storm number 2. And that's the secret. I'm telling you. And it works in everything. It's not just in weather. It is a play of tomfoolery, trickery on the human brain. Because what happens is you'll be so excited about the next one, you'll forget all about the wrongs of the past. Forgive and forget, move on. We ain't got time for that. So they play onto that, and you never hold anybody accountable, and they can be as wrong as they want. So that's a little secret, by the way, inside TV news industry when it comes to the, well, pretty much everything. I was going to say just weather, but News too. All right, so let's go on to this one. This is the Monday event. Okay, so let's go on to this particular system. Upper level low, once again, comes in a really good trajectory. I mean, it's right here centered smack dab over Amarillo. So it's got a great track. Now, this is the GFS we're using just for an example because they'll all change a little bit this far out. But we'll just take this one as though it's the gospel. All right, the upper track is literally right over Oklahoma. So if I were to put the little low centered, it's sitting right here. All right, so this is our big area of interest. We're loving this. So this is what we want. If you want snow, I got to be careful because not everybody wants snow. All right, so here is Monday night into Tuesday morning. That center of that low goes right over the state. It looks like as it gets to eastern Oklahoma, it does lift and stretches out a little bit here across southwest Missouri to the tip of, looks like Texarkana area. So that means that it starts to weaken a little bit and broaden. That's fine because it's already come through Oklahoma like a bowling ball. In that particular case, looks like it's starting to wrap back up again, a little tight circle, and then back off and goes. By the way, it's a big snowstorm for the Northeast. This will be a monster storm for these guys out here for around the 9th and the 10th. Not only with wind, but also quite a bit of accumulating snow. So they're going to love it. The Northeast, they love this kind of stuff. They're freaks up there. Okay, so just kind of an example of what that track looks like when you look at what we have available today. Because remember, we don't talk about snowfall totals beyond 48 hours because even though or you can see, for an example, what happened this Friday, even talking about it today, it can still change. But it just gives us an idea. So we kind of blend the models together. You're looking at a widespread 6 to 7 to 8 inches of snow across this area of Kansas, dips into northern Oklahoma and the Panhandle, all right? That's the blend of models. This is a conservative approach. Now, other models will try to hit high spots in here. So here's the UK Met. It's got pockets of 6 and 7, even down here in Oklahoma, so like around Ponca City, even down a couple inches around Oklahoma City, and then back out here to the north and west. All right, now I'm going to show you what fantasy looks like. You've heard of fantasy football. Here's fantasy weather. So here's the GFS, the American model. 16 inches, 24 inches, 23 inches across Kansas, a big chunk of Kansas buried in snow. This does extend all the way down to about the I-40 corridor, where you've got about 8 inches, 9 inches here across the northern counties of Oklahoma. But I will tell you this is pretty impressive. This is why we discuss and tell you how the track of the upper level low matters so much when it comes to snow. One little deviation of 50 miles, 100 miles, makes a huge difference. For example, from this spot here, this line in the sand, which is about an 8-inch line of snow, to this line here, which is a 24-inch line of snow, that's like 20 miles. I mean, that's ridiculous. And you're going to ask me to try to predict with 100% accuracy who's on that line of 24 versus who's on that line of 8. That's what I'm talking about. This is part of the challenge of forecasting exact snowfall amounts in your area. This is why you have to be a little bit more generic with that because there's way too many things that change and move around in the atmosphere with snow. It's fun, but boy, is it difficult. But anyway, so here is another model. We'll go with the Canadian. And it has a bullseye. It loves 29 inches of snow. So this is another reason why you don't want to believe snowfall amounts on these charts that go around social media too far out because they will vary wildly and they will sometimes get quite excessive. Now, at the end of the day, obviously, could we get some pretty significant snow? Yes. Now, will we get 2 feet of snow? Probably not, obviously. But what we'll do is we watch for trends. We'll see where the heaviest amounts are. Do they stay like a corridor like this? Or do they start to shift south? Is the trend now to move everything down to south? Is the upper level low that we were watching earlier, does it come in from here to here to here to here to here? Or does it start to go like this? Or does it come down more like this? And each of these has different outcomes. So kind of give you an idea, and this is just a general idea. Along the track of the upper level low and to the north is where the heavy snow is, right? So each of these would have a heavier snow line with it. I'm just giving you an example. It can be obviously these little areas can be a little bit wider, but that's just kind of the example of how you want to watch for these type of things and how small of a range it can be depending on how compact the system is. But anyway, so that's kind of an example of what's coming our way Monday into Tuesday. On top of that, it is going to be a wind maker. So the isobars will be quite packed, quite dense, which means the pressure gradient force will be up all that translates into the word that you're familiar with, which is called wind. So we're going to have wind gusts up around 40 to 50 miles per hour, maybe gusts higher than that across central, western, northern Oklahoma, down across Texas and Kansas. So any measurable snow that we have out there will be blowing snow, maybe whiteout conditions, maybe blizzard conditions. And it could be, if it's heavy, wet snow, in some cases, you might get power outages. So it might be quite a winter storm around the southern plains, for a few people anyway, when it comes to Monday and Tuesday. Now, here's a look at the Weather Service. I'll wrap this up and show you the forecast. This is kind of how they outline the potential for a little bit of rain-snow mix, which I really can't argue too much with based off the latest model data, but we may have to shift this a little bit more to the north just because we'll see if that track verifies. Otherwise, preliminary data did say pretty much this was the line in the sand. Anywhere here south was all rain, so no go. And then everywhere here along the I-40 corridor, you can see some wet snow mixed in, and then measurable snow north of that. So that's kind of how the Thursday night, Friday kind of shaped up. They did have measurable accumulations of snow from 1 to 2, pockets of 3 up here in northwest Oklahoma. Doesn't really show here, but the idea would be here. And matter of fact, we can go to Tulsa and show you how they kind of showed theirs broken down. So there's their little mixture of rain, snow mixed through Tulsa, down to Muskogee. Now, they didn't quite bring it down here like the models did, which is fine. It's depending on how those temperatures go, it's going to be a hard call anyway. But otherwise, some measurable snow up here in the north, but again, nothing too crazy. As at this point, Kansas looks like the winner out of this, and even then, it's still, the system itself is nothing compared to what's coming our way for Monday and Tuesday. We just don't quite have enough cold air to work with for this one. The next one we do have a little more cold air to work with, not a lot. So again, there's some room for some screw ups there, but at least there's a little bit more cold air to work with. So it should have a better outcome when it comes to more widespread snow and heavier snow and a wet snow. All right, temperatures over the next few days, 40s, near 50, overnight lows, 20s and 30s. And as always, your miles will vary when you get out here to the extended, depending on what happens on the ground. Obviously, we had a big snowstorm here, and we were packed with a foot of snow. You're never going to hit 51 degrees, the next day. So it is not possible. The snow is like two things it does. At night, it's like a blanket, an insulator for ground temps in your vegetation. But it also is like an albedo thing it's a complete reflector of solar radiation. So it flashes it back up into space, and we don't get to heat up as a result. Some fun things. Plus, you get some melting, and you get some a lot of little physical processes that help to cool things down. But anyway, as we look in the extended, we are going to have the opportunity for much colder air to come in. So again, subject to change all here, as I mentioned before in my blog, and on the live that I did about the polar vortex, which is a fun term because it's a clickbait term. It's always been around. It's so funny because us as meteorologists, we know about all these terms forever, right? And we talk about each other, to behind the scenes, and we go, oh yeah, you take a look at that, yeah, that's neat, that's cool. But we never thought to turn it into a sensational clickbait. Oh my gosh, we're all doomed, we're going to die, we're going to freeze to death, and global climate change and everything else. So I'll throw it in. Please give us your tax dollars and everything else so that we can fight it and survive. We never once thought to do any of that garbage. But lo and behold, the news has, and therefore it is now with us. So when I do mention the polar vortex, it's not a big deal. It happens all the time, and it moves around. It's usually anchored across the pole, and it dips and it varies, and sometimes it hits the other side of the globe, sometimes our side. When it does, with these nice little Arctic air mass outbreaks, and sometimes they can last for a while, and sometimes they're short-lived, depending on how things move around. But we are going to get some colder air coming in for the second half of January because of the sudden stratospheric warming event, which is called an SSW. So when that happens, it usually is a precursor. It's a little bit of a lag. When that thing moves through, then you get the cold air. It follows a few days, a week later. And then that cold air then stays for usually about a 30-day time frame. So it should, in theory, we should be colder across the nation as a whole, including Oklahoma, for like mid-January through mid-February. And with that, still an active subtropical jet stream because we got El Nino in effect. So you have all these little indices it's a complex system. And I just laugh because we always think we have it figured out. It's so funny. Now, one day, maybe AI will help us out and it'll fill in the blanks. But we'll get there. I think the forecasting get better and better on the long range side. Right now, it's 50-50. It's like shooting darts. Once you get to like the 2-week time frame and onward, and then when you get to like the climate view, it's silly. I mean, you can put it out there, but I mean, it's going to verify. Because that's what we do. We put it out there, it doesn't verify, nobody remembers anyway. And then, because why? Because we're already on to the next one. Remember what I told you about? You're already on the next 90-day period. So, and then nobody ever goes back to compare, how well it did. They go, well, you guys got it wrong. In theory, everybody just says we always get it wrong. That way, you never really have to worry about getting it right. That's the perception and the stereotype. Why bother getting it right? You can always be wrong. But anyway, that's just all for fun. But the point is, get ready for winter because it is here. So real quick, I'm going to go through your comments. I saw there was some more love tonight sent from the stars category here on Facebook. So I'm going to give you guys some shout outs. So I do appreciate that. So Emmanuel, thank you for the snow. Thank you for the stars. I'll try to send you a little bit of snow up there in Tulsa. If you don't get so much on the first round, hopefully the second round will nail you. Lynn, thank you also for the stars. Jeremy, my brother, appreciate you, homie. Dustin is in the house with the stars. Thank you, sir. And I know a lot of it had some questions. Some of you may have tuned in late. Daryl. Okay, so I'll tell you, HARP is actually a real thing. It is about the ionosphere, and it is over a small geographical area. Doesn't do anything else the rest of the globe, and it's just for measurement tests. Trust me, I love good conspiracies, and I looked into that one hoping I'd find something. I didn't. It's just space and weather. Boring. But, we're always doing scientific experiments on each other and on everything around us. That's what humans do. Okay, let me think. So real quick, if you are late, rather than having to start from the beginning and watch, your real quick recap is bottom line, 2 storm systems, one coming in for Thursday night, Friday morning. The latest model tries to move a little more to the north, which is less snow for Oklahoma and more for Kansas, which usually happens a lot of times. It's not a huge system, so we're looking at 3 to 5 inches of snow. Texas, Oklahoma panhandles, parts of Kansas, maybe parts of far northwest and northeast Oklahoma. Otherwise, looks like amounts have come down a little bit. That system is gone, and then we're quiet. The next system comes in for Monday to Tuesday. That one's a huge snowmaker, and it's a big wind maker. So someone's going to get pounded. Now, how much? If you believe 2 models, it's 2 feet. Now, I'm not going to believe 2 models that say 2 feet, but the conservative estimate is still up around 7-8 inches of snow across a large area, probably like the size of Kansas. Now, it could be all of Kansas, or some of that could be half Kansas and half Oklahoma, like I-40. So we'll see the exact track. It's too early to nail down the exact track, but right now it's a favorable position for Oklahoma and Kansas, so split the difference. I would like to see it go a little bit more south. That would give Oklahoma City a big pounding of snow, just because, I like that. Temperatures are kind of critical again, though. It's not overly cold, just cold enough, but also means that temperatures will moderate and warm up quite a bit faster, so the snow will not stick around long, which is probably everybody's favorite. But we do have some Arctic air on the horizon, so at some point we're going to get that cold air here to stay, and then anything after that will not melt and go away so quickly, like we normally do get around here. And it'll feel more like other parts of the world when it snows, it actually sticks and stays. Let's see. Stefan. He's my friend in Canada. He is waiting for our system because a lot of times they will come from our area and then zip up to the northeastern part of the country and cross the border and nail him, and he's always getting fresh snow up there. Aaron, thank you for the stars. Jared, my friend in Houston and Dallas, also thank you for the stars. Nope, no snow for you guys this time around. I will say this, however. One of the models did provide snow for North Texas for that Monday, Tuesday event. I think it was the Canadian. Now, we're too far out for that to be taken seriously, but it's just something to watch to see if the track were to shift a little bit more to the south. But just a heads up on that. And then last but not least, I want to thank you guys on YouTube for checking in and leaving your comments. I see you, Nancy and Jim. I know Mean Oki's in the house as usual. And then Jody's always chiming in with you guys as well. So thanks always for leaving your comments and putting in your questions and saying hello. And then Rumble's had some problems lately. So on Rumble, if you're watching this replay, I tried to go live on it, but it didn't connect. The other day, it wouldn't connect. It did a week ago, and it did some testing, and it did in between, but I don't know, whatever reason tonight. It said no-go, so I got to figure out what's going on with Rumble. Maybe they're just having some server problems. And then I know on Facebook group page, so you guys have noticed I'm going live there too, just because I can go live for everybody since I got unlimited bandwidth now, thanks to AT&T Fiber. So, no thanks to you, Cox Cable. You did me wrong for 15 years. AT&T's done me right in 5 minutes. Anyway, all right, that's enough of that. I'm out of here. You guys have a great night, and I will do more updates for the storm systems coming up, and we'll track them as we continue through our winter. Thanks again for tuning in, liking and sharing the video, becoming a Facebook fan subscriber, YouTube, tap the bell, Rumble, you name it, whatever. There's all kinds of stuff out there for content creators. So if you'd like to do me a favor and shoot some love my way, I'd gladly accept it. Otherwise, we will talk to you soon. Good night, everybody.